Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on August 14th, 2023 at approximately 4:28 p.m. PST. Now, I have returned to this planet for one reason and one reason only. Well, one primary reason. And that is to remind people that working together, we can make this a better life for virtually everybody. Well, a better world. Whether it's a better life or not is going to really depend on your efforts. Now, I build myself as a spiritual guide because because of the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my own day-to-day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the philosophies I guide my life by every day of the week. Now, with that in mind, these are not tools that may work. These are tools that have been proven very effective for literally thousands of people based entirely on their own personal effort. And these tools can work for you as well, but it's up to you whether or not they do. Now, I decided I was going to look at prejudice, and I'll explain why in just half a second. But to start with, let's get on with the issue of football counties in the house with the gold. And Amy Tonga's come in with the silver, followed right behind by Sam Coker. How you doing? You came in with the bronze today. Now, again, when we take a look at this, remember, in this chat room, if you've got a question, even if it's not on the topic that we are talking about, okay, put the question in, any topic, doesn't matter what. Okay, I will do my best to answer it, but put it in all caps, partial caps, or at least that neat little wavy icon. Okay, just to get my attention, let me know that it's there. Now, that being said, gonna sneeze. I do hate that. But, that being said, we are here. Oh, and I did forget to bring those in again. One of these days I'm going to remember. But what I'm referring to, guys, is this comment that Sam has made. He goes, I love gloves as well. Okay. Thank you, Sam. Appreciate that. Now, I ran into a situation on Friday. It was Friday. Ran into a situation on Friday that really brought this whole thing in prejudice to light. And who do we got here? Jimmy Gonzalez. Looks like you got in with honorable mention. And before we really hang ourselves on that one, and yes, no question there. Well, oh, my apologies. Let's see. Let's run this here. Football came in with the gold. Emmy came in with the silver. Sam came in with bronze. And then we go down a little bit. And, yep, talk about a close call. But Eternity came in with the honorable mention. However, this does not make you any less important there, Jimmy. The reality is the world has taken an interesting twist. Okay. And that interesting twist is that everybody apparently is supposed to be taking a look, is supposed to get a gold star for showing up. That is not the way life works. Anyway, as I was saying, on Friday, I went out and there were a couple of people that I knew sitting on the sidewalk outside the grocery store. So I stopped to talk to them. Right. And the one guy, most of them I get along with anyway, but this one chap, and let's put this in perspective. There was a young deaf lady. There was an elderly lady that is very much a full-blown alcoholic, and there was this North American Indian, young lad, somewhere in his early 20s, I suspect. Might have been his late teens. He wasn't very old. Okay. Now, I was down there. I've got a routine to follow. Okay, and when I go down to this particular mall, I'm going in to go for lunch. That's just the way it is. But I go in for lunch, and I go in there with the intention of writing. So the guy, now bear in mind, this young lad had a bicycle. Okay, he had a bike of his own, and when we look at my community, okay, the community of Rutland is not a very big area. Okay, and it's worst if you're on foot, it's going to take you an hour. On a bike, you can do it in 20 minutes. Okay, so this guy, he, I was talking to the three of them, and this guy pipes up, and I says, I gotta go. I've got a meeting that I've got to get to. And this guy goes, can I get a ride to Raleigh? He goes, I've got a meeting as well. Right. Well, and I looked at him and I said, I'm sorry, I'm already occupied. Now, do understand, first and foremost, okay, he had a bicycle there, right? His immediate comment was, "What? You just don't like natives?" So I looked at him and I said, "Let me ask you one thing. Were you born in Canada?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "So was I. Therefore, we're both native." Okay. And I said, "But no, he says, well, then why won't you give me a ride?" I said, "Because I've got a meeting to get to." "Well, I've got a meeting I need to get to too." I looked at him and I went, "No doubt." Right. But I said, "I can't help you right now." So I walked off. But I'll tell you, it upset because he came back again to this thing. "Oh, you won't give me a ride just because I'm native." And I'm thinking, if there's one thing I'm not, there's a lot of things I'm not, but if there's one thing that sets me off, it's when people tell me that I'm being prejudiced. It's like I told him, I says, I regard everybody the same way. It's just, I look at the world differently. And the fact that you're North American Indian, I don't care, right? It doesn't matter to me. But when we're looking at prejudice, everybody has a prejudice of one form or another. The question is what you do with it. Now, I'm just going to scan up here. I've left that run, so that's okay. See, that's just it in football. I used to give total strangers a ride, but I got burned way too often. I remember one guy, I was pressed for time, and he asked me if I could give him a lift downtown. He had a doctor's appointment. Now, downtown is a long haul from where we are. So I didn't have a real big problem with it. It was like, okay, I got to go that way anyway. Hop in the car. So I drove him downtown, but I let him out, and he immediately walked into the liquor store. And I swore then, never again. Yes, it was only one person. Okay. But I've always been that way. So when this guy made that comment, unfortunately, I let it do one thing. I let it really throw the rest of my day off. And Nathan, how we doing? Didn't see you come in there. Welcome aboard, Nathan. Glad you could join us. Now, I forgot to dig something up here. No, I didn't. It's right there. But Nathan is being kind enough to support, like the rest of you that come in here. Okay, I really do thank you guys for sharing your time with me. You really don't necessarily know how much it means to me. But Nathan, this is the link to Nathan's show. So absolutely drop in, give him a listen. If you like what he has to say, give him a thumbs up, do subscribe to his channel, and then share the daylights out of it. Okay, and again, here, if you do like the stream, do me a favor and give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and remember that funny little bell to let you know when the next one's coming on. Okay, it really is appreciated. I'll be looking into getting, people have asked me about monetizing, and I'll be looking into that this week, because now I'm finally getting on top of my game, I think. By the way, don't take my word for that. Yeah, absolutely agree with you there, football. And all he did was tick me off. Will I bother giving him the time of day the next time? Probably. But I have discovered that, that was the other thing. I asked the guy how old he was, and he looks at me and goes, I'm 100 years old. I looked at him and I went, 100. He goes, yep. And that was why I turned around and walked away, because to my way of looking at it, I wasn't going to bother cottoning and, paying attention to that at all. Okay. So, because let's face it, if he thinks he's 100 at the age he was, either he is aging extremely well or he ain't 100. So, I mean, I'm looking at this whole situation going, prejudice is now rampant. Well, it always was pretty extreme. But now it's being promoted. Not only is it being promoted in the churches, in the politics, in the schools, and in home life. Unfortunately, it's no longer teach acceptance, or at least to me, it doesn't seem like it is any longer. Teach acceptance, or teach forgiveness. That doesn't seem to be the case. Teach isolation, teach prejudice, teach greed. These are the messages that are being handed out. Okay, and to me, this is just blatantly wrong. Which is why I've decided to do what I did with coming out of the shadows, with getting the newsletter up and running. And I am very happy to say, I have managed to get, I've gotten so far, I've received one letter of support, absolutely glowing. It shocked the daylights out of me the way it came out. But I was asked by Community Futures to produce and to get these letters, so that works out well. So I do have that now to fill in the gap. And Dogface, how you doing? Glad to see you. And we have Chad Smith has come in as well. So with Chad in here we go. We have Chad. We copy that link, bring it down here, and pop it in. And again, this is Chad, the link to Chad Smith's stream. So do drop in, give him a listen. If you like what he has to say, give him a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. That would be really appreciated. By us working together, by us sharing each other's information, okay, we can turn this around. The problem that I'm running into now, way back when I was a kid, it turns out, I pushed a lot of people away from me to essentially hide from the world. Okay, thinking erroneously, I might add, that people would wake up. Okay, the people would go, oh, we really should actually treat each other properly. My dad, he was a superintendent of Sunday schools when I was growing up, and he did teach and lived forgiveness, acceptance, honesty. I mean, he did have a flaw. He wasn't perfect. Okay, but I come out of hiding, and all I'm seeing, the massive majority of what I'm seeing, and this chat room is a welcome exception. Okay, I get very little in the way of conflict in this room. Yes, there's a lot of cross chatter, and for those of you listening in, this is not a bad thing, because the support that I see going amongst the people in this chat room between each other is absolutely incredible. The neat part about it is, if you look at it, when I take a look at the stream that I know of, and if somebody's is a person from a different country, let me know. Okay, but we've got people in here, or have people come through here from Canada, the US, England, Denmark, Australia, and from Singapore. Okay, now if you happen to be from another country, absolutely let me know. I am doing my best to keep an eye on it. I'm going to be breaking it down into provinces and what have you sooner or later. But that's one of those things that's a sort of in process of. That is very true. In football, I won't. And I don't, I even have, I've been with people who have said, we got to sneak, we got to sneak the food in. It's not technically my job, but do I feel, and from my standpoint, do I feel it's wrong? For me, yeah, it is. So I mean, that being said, and do not get me wrong, I am not perfect. Okay, this is why I look at people that do things that are a little off kilter. As long as they're not deliberately causing a major problem. I used to live next to a grow up, and I asked the guy when I met him, right? I looked at him, it was really kind of funny because his name was Brian and his name was Brian. I've got a brother named Brian, not the same guy. And his roommate's name was Keith. So I met these two and I said, so curiosity for you guys. What's this I hear about you having a grow up here? This was a couple of weeks into living there. And the guy, and Brian goes, oh, we don't have a grow up. I said, no. I said, so I guess that the 15 or 20 people that show up at your place between 10 and 10:30 and are only there for maybe 3 minutes before they drive off. These are just people that like to drop by and don't have a lot of time to say hi. And he goes, oh, no, those are just people picking up tools. I says, oh, so that's what you're calling them. He goes, well, do you have a problem with it? I said, let me ask you this. I says, do you sell to 16-year-olds or below? Now, bear in mind, marijuana was illegal at that point anyway. Okay. And I just asked him, I said, do you sell to 16-year-olds or below? And he goes, absolutely not. He says, as a matter of fact, if any one of my dealers, if I find out they're selling to minors, he said, I will drop them and will no longer supply them. I looked at him and I said, Brian, you and I will be fine. I said, but you might want to look at these at these 3 cars. And I pointed out where they were. I verbally pointed them out. I did not stand there and point at them. I said, you might want to know about these three vehicles. And he looks at me and he goes, why? I said, they're ghost cars. He goes, wait a minute. You were just asking me if I'm a grow up, and now you're telling me where the watch is? I says, yeah. I'm also going to tell you when when your people show up, have a rule they are there for at least a half an hour. Give them a coffee, I don't care, right? But have them there for at least half an hour, right? If not, I says, you're going to run into troubles. He goes, you're telling me how to run my business. I said, look, you're not selling to minors. I don't want it. And if you're running the business properly, why do I care? Right? Yeah, it was absolutely against the law. Of course, it was also one of the best medications on the planet, which made it being against the law kind of stupid, but what the heck? At this point, it's not illegal. So, like I said, am I honest? Yes. Do I hold it against other people if they're not? As long as they're not stealing from me or endangering my neighborhood, I don't have a problem with it. And let's face it, for those of you that use marijuana, people don't get violent on marijuana unless it's coming down and they've got the munchies and you're telling them, no, you can't have any. But that's a different issue. So from that standpoint, when this guy called me and told me that I didn't like natives, let us understand something very, very important. Wherever you are, whoever you are, if you're born in an area, you're native. I don't care what your skin color is. Doesn't matter what your nationality or your heritage is. Doesn't make any difference what your gender is. You're still native. And simply put, if you're not from that area and you've just moved into it, you are now alien. Again, I'm not referring to species. I'm referring to locality. Now, the massive majority of people on this planet happen to be human. Okay, but when you're looking at prejudice, let us understand, if you're going to a church and the church is telling anybody, when the church is saying, we welcome all people, except people, we're Catholic, and this is just an example, okay? Understand, the Catholics, the Protestants, the Sikhs, the Covens, the Hindus, they all do the same thing, and there's a lot more religious outlooks out there. They all seem to do the same thing. We're all about love and love your neighbor, etc., etc. But unless you believe in exactly what we're telling you, okay, you're not welcome. Now, if that is the case, then this spiritual guide you're following is prejudice. Shadow, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And as Shadow comes through the door, we go and find this. Where is it? Here we are. And we copy this. And whoop, that is not what I wanted. I do have trouble getting the mouse to do what I require it to do. And there is the link to Shadow's stream. I gotta tell you, Shadow, I was in your room for a little, in your stream, in your chat room there the other day. The guys you had on talk about intellects. Now, the conversation was in a field that really I have no real functional input into. Okay, but talk about well-educated people. Now, whether they believe the same thing I do or not is not the relevant issue. But those were really intense conversations you were having, which was really a welcome thing to see. I just have way too many things on the go to stick around forever. But well done. And again, guys, drop in, listen to what he has to say. If you like what he's talking about, do give him a thumbs up, subscribe to his channel, and share the daylights out of it. Okay. All in all, we've got a world here that is incredible, but we've got to put a kibosh on the greed, on the prejudice. If you're following a spiritual guide that is telling you, I welcome everybody, but you can't come in if you're not of this particular belief structure. That is prejudice. Okay. If you are saying things like, whoever's lives matter, the second you qualify life, you're exhibiting prejudice. You may not like this, but it's a reality behind it. Now, I'm just going to look for something here because, well, frankly, I can. So let us take a look at something. What I'm actually looking at is I'm looking up the definition of prejudice. Preconceived opinion that is not based on reason or actual experience. Okay. For instance, prejudice against people from different backgrounds. Okay. Now, this is out of the dictionary this is out of the Oxford Language Dictionary. Okay. When we're talking about law, harm or injury that results or may result from some action or judgment, prejudice resulting from delay in the institution of the proceedings. Okay, there's a lot more to it, but look it up. This is one of the things I've been told are a little screwy. I seem to be a little too literal on occasion for my own good. Now, who do we got here? Jenny White Bear, how we doing? Glad you could join us. But I'm looking now. Let me ask you this. I will tell you, I have my own prejudice. I do not deal with stupidity well. And I know people don't like the word, you can't say somebody's stupid. Actually, I really can. I'm an English major. I figured out how to do it. But I have been told, and correctly so, that I have a tendency of taking words a little too literally on occasion. And I'm certainly old school. But the reality of it is this. When we take a look at this world, The moment you start finding new and exciting ways to make yourself different than other people, to say, oh, I don't like you because you're this color, or you got this color of hair, or you've got this background. Now, I will tell you, background, who the people you are that you hang around with, the saying goes, you're known by the company you keep. Meaning, whether you're prejudiced or not, if you're hanging around with people that are being prejudiced, that are exhibiting prejudice, you will be known as exhibiting prejudice. Now, I'm not telling you who to pick for friends. Okay. I don't hang around a lot of people for some bizarre reason. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm reclusive. Maybe it's because I just don't handle it well. Yeah. And everybody's got a bad side to them there, Jimmy. The reality is, I used to hang around, I used to go out and talk to a lot of troubled kids before marijuana became legal. Right. If there's one thing that can be said about when marijuana was illegal, is it drew all the problem children into the same place. And they found support in that area. Now, I don't know where they've gone, but they're not getting the support. This is obvious by a lot of what's going on. Okay, but let me ask you this. Is there any one of you that can say you don't have a prejudice about something? It may not be a big problem. And do understand a like and a dislike, technically a dislike, and likes and dislikes are prejudice. But you got to remember, when you're talking about likes, you're prejudiced in favor of that behavior. So, of course, that was really poorly pronounced. But, of course, I can honestly say I will exhibit prejudice around people that are honest and open-minded. I have a major problem dealing with people that are not. Okay, needless to say, I don't tend to hang around them. Yeah, football is just going, I don't like nonsense. Now, I got to ask a question, and I really don't know whether I'm going to get an answer. I don't even know if you can give me an answer there, football. But football just made a comment on Southern Charm. Patricia said I must be a B-list F-boy because that's the company I keep. So I'm not entirely, okay, thank you, football. Like I said, I don't watch TV. But, the negative energy for me, it really is quite literally painful. This is one of the drawbacks of being empathic. But there's nothing wrong with talking to people that have problems. I do it all the time. Matter of fact, I quite frankly invite them invite people to do that. I just don't see the point in looking and hanging around people that are being really, really prejudiced. Okay. And this whole thing that's now been moved into law, that you're now able to decide, it's no longer a male or female. It's like, I don't feel like that. And I love the one comment I saw on Facebook one day. Because somebody made the comment that they relate to being a deer, right? As in four-legged animal, was most people shoot them and have them on the dinner table. Whoever the person was, they said they identify as a deer. Somebody come in right behind them and went, does this mean that I can go and shoot you and not get charged with murder because I'm hunting? Somebody else comes right in behind them and goes, that's only if you shoot them in hunting season. Now, this is where decisions become really questionable in my eyes. From my standpoint, it really boils down to this. What you relate to is not a big problem. But forcing the issue into law has created a massive separation. It wasn't that we didn't have enough things to look at each other and go, oh, you're different than me, so therefore, stay away from me. What do you think it is? Time of the Walking Dead? Well, in all fairness, I look at the number of people that I literally start to walk into traffic hanging on to their cell phone. I swear it's the day of the Walking Dead anyway. And yes, I do swear. I do my best not to, but, I lose my temper and all of a sudden I got a problem. But when we are looking at prejudice, we have to realize that we are taught that from the get-go. Okay? And unfortunately, when you look at the billions of people attending churches of whatever denomination, okay, where virtually every church is pointing the finger and saying the same thing, you're not welcome because you don't believe in the exact same person I do. For something that is supposed to bring a sense of brotherhood, a sense of commonality, a sense of unity, the churches are failing. And yeah, I know that's going to upset somebody. And by the way, something I should warn you about. If this stream gets cut because I'm pointing something like this out, this is why I refuse to pick on anyone. I'm talking about the people. Okay. I'm talking about what you're witnessing happening in society, in schools, in the spiritual guidance, and it's not just the mainstream religions. I see this happen in the pocket religions. Okay. Heck, I see it happen by people that are in the same field I'm in. Okay, in the consulting field. And they will turn around and go, you're not worth as much. I was dealing with a young lass the other day. And for me it was wonderful. But she is a very definitive multiple personality. Because when you're talking to her, she can flip in a heartbeat into a different voice pattern, belief structure, memory system, the whole 9 yards. And when she swapped gears, I just asked her. I said, okay, now I don't recognize you, and unfortunately, I do like working with names. So can you tell me who you are, because I don't recognize you? Well, she turned around and said she wasn't allowed to. So, okay, we carried on with the conversation. A 3-hour conversation with many different people, but only one body. And one of the kids that I was talking to turns around and goes, why are you being nice to me? I said, well, why wouldn't I be nice to you? Well, nobody's nice to me. I said, okay, so I'm nobody. You'll get used to it. This is just me. Yeah, that can be a bit of a hiccup, And I do feel for you there, Amy. Where I grew up was a military base, and I'll tell you, the bullies that I dealt with, the bullies were all Caucasian. The two kids I got treated the best by were North American Indians. Now I refuse to call them First Nations. They're not first in my book. Number one, they weren't first here. And number two, no, correction. Number one, I don't care where you come from or what your heritage is. This does not make you better than me. Your pocketbook doesn't do a thing for me. Mind you, if you want to give me money, I'll take it quite readily. I'm not too proud to say thanks. But I found, I was bullied by a staggering number of Caucasians. Okay. But the two North American Indians were really, really forthcoming and really, really nice about it. There were a number of other people. In all fairness, I shouldn't say a staggering number. I grew up under literally 8 bullies. Okay. The moment you make fun of somebody for what they're wearing, for how they're walking, for their body, for their physical body, what they call body shaming. These are all examples of prejudice. Okay. Just look at this. Joe's going, Joe, I don't think I saw you come in. But that being said, welcome aboard. Joe's just going, ever since I saw that white floating apparition outside my upstairs window that rainy day, it's raining out now. Maybe nothing will happen. Maybe I'll see something. It's one of those neat little things that, keep an eye open. The reality is people have gotten so caught up in staring at this that they don't look at the sky. They don't look outside at the park. This is just an unfortunate reality. Now, how am I supposed to get out of that? You do realize if I'm inside a 65-inch TV, I'm going to have a heck of a problem getting a refill for my coffee. By the way, Derek, welcome aboard. Glad you showed up. It's neat. I've been paying a lot of attention to what you've been telling me there, Derek, and I do my best to get into the video, into the comments, and respond to them, even if it's just to say hi, thanks for showing up. I have been doing my best to deal with that. And rest assured, I've been having a lot of trouble trying to get myself organized in a lot of ways. But one of the things I look at, like I said, I'm going after the best of the best. It's just that simple. So I've started boxing up stuff I'm getting rid of. Haven't figured out where it's all going, but I am finding what I'm no longer interested in hanging on to. I hope so there, football. The reality of El Paso is there's been a glitch that's come up. Okay. And that glitch is if I get into community futures, that starts on September 25th and runs for possibly the next 48 weeks. If that's the case, if that does happen, which I absolutely hope it does, because that's a game changer for me. But if that happens, then I will end up postponing my trip. Where have we got? iVoices, I believe, just wandered in. No, Iowaks did. How you doing, Iowaks? Glad you could join us. Oh, bad news, Nathan. That's been going on since the 1700s when they started looking at helping people. Even before, way before things really stabilized. But yes, organ farming has been going on for centuries. Now, granted, in your local hospital may not be a century old. But the unfortunate part is this happens. People are pronounced dead early in order to harvest organs. Now, myself, I don't care what they do with my body when I'm dead. And I've still got to do my will up, which, by the way, I really should get on. Yeah, it's just unfortunately, again, this whole thing about when you look at organ farming. Okay, we have an interesting problem. You go to the hospital to get well, and yet it is a sadly proven fact that some people heal faster outside the hospital than they do inside, but it was supposed to be a place of healing. Unfortunately, what we're finding is that's not always the case. And what do we got? Nathan's going, also, hybrids have been seen several times there in the medical areas under very strange circumstances. And yeah, and again, the hybridization, what better place to hide them really than right smack in the middle of a medical facility. But again, when you're looking at hybrids, do understand they too are people. Okay, they are absolutely people. Now the neat part about it is when we start focusing on the similarities, all of a sudden that prejudice can go away. When we start focusing on sharing, we can eliminate greed. And you can eliminate greed, you can eliminate the neat little thing of famine, but this is something that is going to require effort on all of our parts. Okay. Yeah, Nathan's going, these were very specific, mission-driven people. And he goes, I take reports, document them on my channel, and then keep on doing it. Absolutely keep up with it, Nathan. Absolutely do. The reality is, like I've told people, I do not research. I live, I interpret, I extrapolate, but I sure as heck don't research. Okay. And it's come to my way, the way I look at it is this. There's a lot of people out there doing the research. If I sense something a little off kilter, I will absolutely talk to people about it. But am I going to go out of my way to try and jump through the loopholes? No. Just not my cup of tea. This is something that I noticed on Shadow's site the other day. I dropped in and listened to him, and I will tell you, he had some incredibly intelligent people on there with a lot of insight and memory that was just incredible. From my end, I got a great memory. It's about that long. Okay. But as one person pointed out, at least I get to meet a lot of new people. Now, the question you got to ask yourself, Joe goes, I spoke too soon. I'm seeing way back into the cemetery, far right, through a lot of trees. I can see through the space at the same time, light moving. It's 8:12 Eastern time here. There you go, Joe. It's a question of, it's one of those. It's one of those things there, Joe. Enjoy what you're seeing. I was quite pleased with the people there, Nathan. I really was. And I do agree with you, Joe. If you can take a video, see what you can do. I'm sure somebody can blow it up if you can't. Preferably not with dynamite, or nitroglycerin, or thermite, or any number of explosives. And no, we're not going to start discussing chemical formulae. Somebody pointed that out the other day in here. We made the mistake of saying, this can be done. It's like, no, let's not go there. So I'm looking at this world going, there's a lot of ways that you can be, there's a lot of ways that you can be, that you can be prejudiced. And, prejudice itself gets a really bad rap. The moment you choose that you say, I like something better than something else, you're prejudiced in favor or against those two items. One of the two. Okay. But the whole concept of prejudice is a negative concept. Okay. But every single one of you has that propensity. Now, in my case, every time I find I have a prejudice, there's some that I won't bother with. Okay. Like, I will not bother even attempting to accept stupidity as a logical solution. However, I am focusing on not letting it drive my blood pressure through the roof. The other thing I'm looking at as I get things organized, because I've got a meeting with Community Futures on Thursday, as in 3 days, I think. Must be 3 days because it's not one. But anyway, this coming Thursday, I've got a meeting, an intake meeting, to see if I actually am getting in on the site, on the system. If I'm not, I'm still building the empire. This is not a question of either I get the government's help or I don't. This is a question of it's happening, just because I'm plain too stubborn to let it go at this point. You know, but as you can see, well, if I move, you can see. Move you out of the way. Before my back seizes completely, I take a look at this. This funny little box here, this has some of the stuff in it that's being gotten rid of, that's being removed. There we go. Because I got all this stuff on the bed that I stand, and what happens is I get it moved out of the way and then end up putting it back. You know, so I have to check those out. You know, the reality of it is I've got all this stuff going on, and unless I get rid of the negative side of it, and the way, like, this is my office. Okay. When my son moved back in, I just decided this was what was going to happen. What do we got here? That's one of those things that, ow, that hurt a lot. By the way, guys, suggestion. If you're going to leave a weight on the floor, don't leave it where you can kick it. This is usually a bad idea. But, you know, get the one thing you got to remember is take a look at the way your life is. Are you content with the way you're treating other people? Much more importantly, in some ways, are you being treated in a way you're excited that you're willing to accept? You know, from my standpoint, and I'm going to read you something here because I'm actually quite happy about it. When I asked for letters of recommendation of support or intent, I'm just looking for what it was. There it is. Now, this is simply because of the fact that, well, I've asked a number of people about a letter of support and or intent regarding my getting the assistance to build this publishing company. Well, this is, and all I'm going to do is read verbatim. This is what one person sent me. Okay. They wrote, I asked them if they would give me one. They went, yeah, absolutely, no problem. So this is literally what they read. Now, bear with me. It's only literally about a half a page. Over the past 5.5 years, Keith has been a consistent regular customer. Each day he walks through the door with a friendly smile and ready for conversation with any of the staff who might be working that day. He always has stories to tell us and advice to share. He has shown his support for the restaurant as well as the members of the team who participate in activities such as sports. He has donated to some with the purchase of T-shirts made sure a reserve and a table to watch events, as well as donated to individuals and organizations that the restaurant is supporting. He is a kind man who is always very patient and understanding. He spends much of his time reading or writing while he enjoys his lunch here in the restaurant. There is no doubt he will be a perfect fit for this next chapter. If you need further information, please please feel free to call me at the number below. Now, to me that's bizarre, but this came from the owner of a very solid restaurant that I've mentioned before, and when I asked her for a letter of support, I was not expecting that. But just thought I'd take the time to share it. I'm a little twisted, there's no doubt, and I definitely have an opinionated outlook on life. But, like I said, I do my best to treat people in the same fashion as I desire to be treated. And that's why I talk about it that way. What do we got? Joe's gone. I took a 34-second video of whatever I'm seeing back there and a photo. My back is killing me right now. I'll have to look at it later. Yeah. And I feel for you there, Joe. I really do. This is one of the reasons why you'll see me get up and move around on occasion. Because of the fact that, in case you haven't noticed, sometimes, and by the way, when we talk about back pain, it is not relegated to getting old. Okay, when I destroyed my back, it was back in 1986. Thankfully, I do not have arthritis. I may have a curvature of the spine, but hey, for the moment, I'll work with what I got. Just scrolling back up to see if I missed anything here. You know, the thing that we have to realize when you're looking at government, when you're looking at big business, religion, all of it, they're doing, theoretically, they're doing the best they can. They have certainly been following in the rules that they were taught. So yes, they may be going down a strange road. This does not mean they're bad people. Okay, I will tell you where it becomes a bad choice is when you get it pointed out to you that what you're doing is hurting people. If at that point, until then, you're dealing with ignorance. For whatever reason, you haven't got the message. But as soon as you get it pointed to you and you get the message, if you choose to treat people poorly at that point, that is a deliberate choice on your end. Okay? And that's the real big kicker here, is ignorance is when you don't know better for whatever reason. Okay? For instance, the obvious one that few people will take offense to, I hope, is a child will wet their pants on a regular basis because they don't know how to avoid it. Okay, now that's true ignorance. If when you become an adult and you're not mentally challenged, if you choose, well, I don't know if the mentally challenged thing, there are people that are mentally challenged that are phenomenally brilliant. But if once you get the message that wetting your pants is a bad thing, okay, it's socially unacceptable. If you choose to continue doing it at that point, that's what's called being stupid. You know, that's an absolutely stupid move. Let me go. Oh, I walk. Who's watching me? Should I talk or should I sing? What are you to me? You're no one, but a number. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, all the way to number 9. Ultimately, that is the way people look at most people. Personally, I like putting names to people. And this is one of the reasons why I've said, if I'm dealing with you, I would rather work on video so I can see who I'm talking to. And let's not go with that paranoid thing of, how do you know the video is real? Well, my little brother pointed out to me in a really bizarre fashion one day. He goes, what if we're not having this conversation? I said, what do you mean? He says, well, think about it. What if we're both sitting on our own, imagining the other person is sitting here, and you think you're seeing me, so you say something to me, and you imagine what that response is, and then you respond to that. He said, it could be this is all an imagination thing. I said, it could be, but for purposes of functionality, I'm not going to deal with it. I'm going to go with, this is the world. What you see on video is real. Unless you're looking at movies where special effects are supposed to be there. I will tell you, I've seen some newscasts where they'll say, here's what's going on. And you're standing at the site of the accident or whatever, and you're going, I'm at the same location. I'm just not seeing the same thing. So, when we take a look at prejudice, we have to realize that people are, all of you have your own viewpoints. You're all welcome to them. And I will tell you, you're absolutely welcome to your own viewpoint. Even in this room, you don't have to agree with everything I say. It's not like I'm here to say, hey, look at me, I'm special. Look at me, well, you're kind of stuck with it if you got me turned on, if you've got the video turned on here. Okay. But you will undoubtedly, like I could point out flaws of the way I am. Not the least of which is, according to professional videographers, the fact I move is a bad thing. They're going to have to deal with it. Because I'm not about to try and sit still again. And next time somebody wants me to do an interview, I don't have a problem with it. I will absolutely come on people's shows. Okay, all we have to do is pick a time. The reality of it is this. What you see is what you get. A couple of you have actually met me. Have actually met me face to face. And I'm still the same way. From my standpoint, now I got a weird question for you guys. I'm building an empire. I'm building the publishing company. This is not the question. Okay. Right now, the consulting side and the author side is done under the consulting is done under Inner Voice Enterprises. The author work is being done under our Keith Andrews. I do have a question I'm going to have to be taking a look at. In your opinion, and it's just your guys' simple opinion. Obviously, I've got to make the final decision. But in your guys' eyes, would you suggest just having the one company name and a bunch of different departments, or get different companies and do it that way? I'm personally inclined to say one company name, and then you start promoting the different departments or different projects that are on the go. But your input would be appreciated. It's funny, I got approached the other day again by somebody else that would like to get a video done. Now, I'm no videographer, and I'm certainly not in a position to start that side of it. Okay, but it is one of these things that does fall under the category of a healing center. Letting people get their dreams to reality, or helping them, guiding them, without giving them the absolute shaft. Okay. So, from my standpoint, I'm looking at this world going, here's a prejudice for you. I have a very definitive problem. Iwax is going, name doesn't matter. The idea will have to transcend all others to last the time. When I think of it, if I were to turn my business into a generational ship, it would have to be a pearl. Yeah, and pearls are, they really are an interesting thing. It was neat. I watched, speaking of pearls, I watched a video the other day showing how an octopus goes after a clam. Now, pearls are in oysters, by the way, just for those of you that aren't aware. But they don't happen very often. In my case, I'm looking at, I've got a number of options that I can work with, and I got to get started on them right away here. But trying to figure out which way to go is another issue altogether. I do know that, Inner Voice Enterprises has some certain issues around it, like certain benefits. The title of my novels, Yldrbac, is very unique. Quite frankly, it just didn't exist before. But it is time to jump on and make things happen. Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention. Actually, I think I did mention this silly thing. The last, I've got an i7. The last update froze me out of FaceTime, out of messages, and out of receiving phone calls. Okay. So, and again, my other half, blind as a bat, figured it out in about 5 minutes. I spent the night trying to figure it out, never could. This is one of those neat little things where I look at it going, yeah, I think I found a partner that works out really well. But we'll see where that goes. But again, the thing we have to really look at here is who here likes to witness people being prejudiced, which ought to be an interesting question. I'm frankly appalled by the amount of it that I see, especially in the institutions that are supposed to be promoting unity. This is it's not the institutions that have to be changed. It's the people that are guiding them need to be guided. And they do require a different outlook on life. What have we got here? Just looking back to see if I missed anything. I take a look at it this way. Everybody has likes, everybody has dislikes. Now, from my standpoint, of course, growing up colorblind, I really got lucky regarding being prejudiced about a color, because everybody was great. I see the occasional white person, also known in your words as an albino, or the occasional black person, which in your words would be Numenorian. Well, you may not even know the term. There used to be a race of absolutely tar black individuals out of Africa that originated in Africa that were they were a glossy tar black. Okay, this is what I call Numenorian. I will actually, that I'm going to do right off the bat here, Nathan. Where are we? Go in there, and we have to go into the inbox. Now, who, pray tell, is that? I don't even know who that is. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Thank you so very much, Nathan. I do appreciate it. And just because I'm going to have it for Thursday, where am I here? All I do is hit that funny little button there. Is it doing anything? I don't know. Well, oh, it showed up over that. That's why. Okay, that's why. This is why I have trouble with computers. Is they always argue with me quite consistently. And what we do here is we go print, and now it's rattling off. Yep. Thank you so much, Nathan. I do appreciate that. The nice little part, the thing I'm looking at is this. I've decided I'm making this happen. I've been asked by a number of people about different fields, such as books, poems. I've got one chap that wants to talk to me about printing out his cartoon. I've had two that have already approached me regarding going into video production. Now, I will tell you, in my eyes, that's going to be a problem because, frankly, I don't know the first thing about it, but I will take a look at it. But thank you so much for that, Nathan. I do appreciate it. I turned around and I looked at it and went, I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to make this publishing company happen so I can take people with me to the top. They tell me it's lonely at the top. Now, am I prejudiced? Gee, I don't know. I don't care if you're black, if you're white, if I don't care who you sleep with. In all fairness, that was actually correct. I don't care what you sleep with, as long as it's not my other half, and then you can have her. But she ain't gonna go there anyway. Um, from my standpoint, who you vote for, that's your call. It's got no bearing on me. Well, may have a bearing on me, but it doesn't make any impact on how I look at people. Okay. Now you have your prejudices. What I'd like to see happen, quite seriously, is I would like to see, I'd love to know what your guys' dreams are, the goals that you would like to see happen. Like, I know Nathan is working on a phenomenal little project, and I'm going to have to give him a call off time at some point in order to get a look at it in a little more depth. Because I do know trying to do it while he's on the air is just not going to work. It's just not going to work that well. Primarily because when somebody's on air, trying to work on something else just doesn't work well. I mean, let's face it, I've been doing it, but, by the way, where are we here? I do that, I'm going to pull that off the wall, and then it's going to break, and I'm going to be annoyed. There's a goal in life. Let's be annoyed with myself. Just to give you a heads up, got my funny little calendar. Like, this works for me. Speaking of which, I'm going to have to get a new one soon. But, like right now, we're looking at prejudice. This is pretty much obvious. Oh, by the way, years ago, I was actually in grade 9, right? Let me go back to... Yeah. Yeah, Nathan's going, I'll be recording progress and also will take notes. Also on air, time is taken up since it is all seat of my pants. Building, there is no blueprint for what I'm doing. In case you hadn't noticed, I do the same thing. But when we're looking at that, Caffeine, or how you doing there, Caffeine? Glad you can join us. It depends on the alien. Some aliens will quite readily drink caffeine. Some have taken a real shine to it. I know, but it's an individual taste, just like with humans. Not all humans like caffeine. Not all humans like tea. Not all humans, and they say 1 billion people can't be wrong. Well, yeah, they can be. Okay, but the issue of whether or not aliens drink caffeine. Some aliens I know of, some people, okay, and I'll just go people across the board. Some people are allergic to caffeine. Therefore, they may want to drink it, may desire to, but it will kill them, so why bother? And yes, virtually every culture has something similar to caffeine. Or they've got a drug, a liquid drug that they like, to the same caliber. Now you take a look at the dwarven society. 90% of what they eat is fermented. Okay, this is one of the reasons why they drink so much. I think they require it. I do know if you don't give it to them, they end up with a whole lot of annoying habits. But, the fact is, it's a drink. And some people like it. Some people like alcohol. Some people like blood wine. Okay. Some people like water full of silt. Personally, if it's chewy, I don't like water that way. Okay. Heck, I don't even like coffee grounds in my coffee. But just like caffeine, the other races also have different drugs that are good and some of them that they consider good, some they consider illegal. You know, it's a wide array. The one thing they don't worry about, okay, is it's not a question of, oh, you don't like coffee. For the most part, no race I know of is quite so prejudiced now as what the human race is. Now, if we go back a number of centuries, well, really, a few thousand years in some of these cultures, they used to be worse than what humans are. I mean, you see the battles going on, like the wars that are going on Earth. When you take a look at some of the cultures I've witnessed, you step out the front door in the same country or in the same clan, and somebody will try and kill you. Okay. And you don't even have to be a different color. You just have to be not that person. I mean, that's taking the whole idea of being reclusive to a brand new high. But yes, there are a staggering number of the similarities between humans and other races are mind-boggling. There is prejudice in every culture I've run into. There is dissidence amongst the political arenas, amongst the religious belief structures. The big difference between humans and other races is the type of the toys. That's just, or the complexity of their toys. Okay, it's not a question of them being better or being a better type of people. If the off-worlders were that good, they wouldn't have 3 ongoing wars that I'm aware of. Okay, and that's just the off-worlders. That's not counting what goes on in what you call inner Earth. And they've got their problems as well, by the way. By the way, where is it? I wonder if I've got any. That'll work. Grab this little sheet of paper. Move that out of the way so I can get at this. Now, of course, this will give you an idea. Okay. This is straight out of the Yldrbac Chronicles. Okay. This, because of now, we all know that I drink coffee. Okay. But I realized that with the world going to heck in a handbasket, which is pretty much what it tells you in the Yldrbac Chronicles, coffee, I figured you may run into a problem. So the locals developed this. Okay. And then, there we go. There's my face. Something you don't want to see. This is borsods, also known as boiled roots and seeds. Okay. This is what they drink in place of coffee, because coffee requires a very specific bean out of the southern reaches. And with borsods, it's a combination of different nuts, seeds, and roots from the local area. So it may change from one area to another, but they still call it borsods. But that's kind of like going Folgers or Maxwell House, or Nabob or any number of other types. That ultimately is what it boils down to. So, when you're looking at this particular drink, this is the favorite hot drink of many of the people in the area. And again, what I looked at was real simple. Not everybody wants to drink alcohol. Not everybody can drink alcohol. Right? But some people will look at a person like the lady that I was talking about earlier. She is a severe alcoholic. Okay. And has made an attempt to quit. But in all honesty, I really don't get the feeling that her heart is in quitting. So I'm looking at this whole thing of prejudice going, as soon as I see something that really upsets me, there's a lot I won't do that I won't look down on somebody for doing. I just don't do it myself. As somebody pointed out earlier today, and I forget who it was. Oh, that's easy. Humans, although they are, iVoices was asked, what do you think and what do the aliens think of humans being racist? For them, it's normal. Humans are still an infantile race. Therefore, they're going to fear everything, okay, including themselves. And what they've discovered is many humans do, when they've studied the psychological profiling and behavioral patterns, they found many humans that are prejudiced have one thing in common: they don't like themselves. Okay, I was actually asked that same question one day by an off-worlder. They looked at me and went, "You do know most people don't like themselves." I said, "Yeah." I said, "This is why so many of them turn around and strive to make other people feel worse about themselves, so that by comparison you can feel better about yourself." Now, hopefully, and I don't think there's very, very many people in here that actually have that problem, though I'm absolutely certain you know people that do. Okay, but no, from most of the alien standpoint, this is an infantile race. So of course, anything that moves, their own shadows scare them. Therefore, they're going to be prejudiced against everything. Okay, and they're going to be fear-based. See, humans have a very simple way of looking at the world. Fear that which you do not understand. That which you fear, strive to control. That which you cannot control, strive to destroy. And that which you cannot destroy, fear. Now, when you go into these community centers that go, love everybody but fear God, this is an absolutely bizarre thing to tell you. Okay, if God loves everybody, then why fear God? Like, where is the rationality behind that? Aside from to make the priest feel the priest or the covenant leader or the rabbi or the social director or whatever. If you're telling somebody to fear other people, what you're doing is saying, fear them, don't fear me. Don't believe them, I'll be honest with you. I'm telling you right now, will I be honest with you? Certainly. But I'll also tell you, double check whatever I'm telling you. Don't just take my word for it. Okay. This is one of those things that we really have to look at and really have to drive home. That the time for prejudice is over. It's absolutely a done deal. Now, where am I sitting here? I bet I've got that down too far. Oop. I gotta refresh this just to take a peek. Now, just a quick point, guys. Well, let's go back to live here because I keep missing some. And again, guys, if you've got a question that I haven't gotten to or that I haven't answered, it's quite probable I miss it. Okay, so absolutely, if I haven't answered it already, do repost it, and I will do my best to catch it. Okay, but when we look at prejudice, ask yourself this: whatever you're seeing in somebody else, and you're unhappy with, are you doing anything like that same thing? Okay, I asked one person, they were complaining about this person's choice of hairstyle, and they made a derogatory comment that I heard. The person that they were making it about didn't hear it, thankfully. And I simply looked at the person and went, tell me, which bothers you more? The fact that that person's willing to wear their hairstyle that way, or the fact you're not? This is the thing. Ask yourself what it is about that person's behavior. Is it because they're hurting somebody else, which I definitely have a problem with and really do tend to stick my foot in my mouth on? Okay. Or is it something that is just an odd setup? My son has to tell me when people are joking. Unfortunately, I really don't get humor a lot of the time. Now, just taking a look to make sure I didn't miss anything here. I keep looking over here because this is where the monitor is that I can actually see the writing on. It's a lot more trouble for me to read the writing on this monitor. So I just default to that when I'm done with it. What time are we? Right there. But no, when you look at it, let me ask you this. Which do you feel more comfortable around? People that are being nice to each other and, treating each other decently, or people that are screaming and insulting and screaming at and or insulting each other or belittling each other? Which type of people do you like being around? Because this is what we've got the choice of doing. We can leave this world, do what it is, and it will turn and tear itself apart in all likelihood. Let's face it. When Pompeii was burned, there was a lot of argument over what they were doing as to how that may well trigger the eruption, which, by the way, subsequently happened because they wouldn't listen to, the powers that be that had all their money wrapped up in things. Went, no, we can't alter what we're doing. And I don't know if it's written in the history books. Somebody else may find that out in the research. But I will tell you, part of what caused the problem in Pompeii was the fact that they were looking at geothermal energy. Okay. They were looking at using the magma vents for power. They were not as backwoods as we're led to believe. And like I said, I do not basically make this comment based on what I've read. Because frankly, I don't know if it's read anywhere. I simply remember being on the outskirts of Pompeii. I was a young lad at the time. I was just a serf. So we were out working in the fields when the volcano erupted. When Krakatoa went off, I was simply in the field. And I literally had to race after my best friend was trying to get back to the city. His idea was he'd get back there and help. But by the time that we were just climbing on, getting up over the ridge, the city was already engulfed in lava. And I ended up breaking 3 of his ribs in a desperate spear to stop him from going down to the city. But a lot of what caused that was the fact that they were working on geothermal energy and they were drawing the energy too fast. Okay. And of course, the powers that be didn't like the idea of cutting back. They didn't want regulations because they wanted all their toys. And the same thing happened in Rome. They didn't want to give up on what they had, so they kept pushing it. Well, mankind's going down the same road because things have been shifted so badly into the idea of materialism and instant gratification. We are digging a really deep hole really fast. Oh, where are we here? There we are. Now, I will tell you, and by the way, if you've got a topic that you'd like to look into, right now, I was going to do this a little earlier and got a little sidetracked. Tomorrow, we're going to take a look at resurrection and the impact, and the way that works. And the way that resurrection works. Whoa. Caffeine Eclipse is going, if you were to get invaded by aliens, more likely to get attacked by germs than intelligent life. Ultimately, you are correct in there, Caffeine. That is also one of the things you got to remember about them trying to attack. This is a hostile environment to some of them. I mean, you take a look at the Europeans when they first came over to North America. They brought with them smallpox, unbeknownst to the Europeans. Okay, and this is something that so many of the North American Indians have laid claim to. It's like, oh, you brought this disease over and killed all of our people. Well, won't argue the fact they came over, won't argue the fact that they brought the smallpox with them. But the reality is, men didn't know about it. Okay, so I mean, ultimately, it boiled down to yes, it happened. It's unfortunate. A lot of people died. Okay, I was alive during the Black Plague, during the Black Death. A lot of people died there, and none of us could figure out what was causing it. Okay, we did eventually beat it, but that's, well, no, we didn't beat it. We beat it into submission, so we didn't actually all die from it. But when you're looking at the way the world is, okay, people are so caught up where they take a look at the amount of money in your pocketbook and go, that's what makes you a better person. The more money you have, the more stuff you have, right? I like, try English. I like the song Ka-Ching by Shania Twain. It's all about the money. And it really, people have been taught to believe that's what it's all about. The fact of the matter is, I'm always close to the edge of bankruptcy. I will break past that. Okay. But am I still willing to help people? On the whole, the answer is yes. Will I deliberately help people that have an attitude that says, I deserve it because I'm suffering? Well, sad to say, most people that are suffering are doing it by choice. And do I look down on them for choosing to suffer? No. I know in many people's cases, they're doing their best, but modern medicine tells you one thing. And honestly, half of what I talk about doesn't fit with modern medicine's outlook. Of course, they won't talk to me at all, so that works out well. Yeah, this neat little thing. My son, when I told my son that the one fan had died, the fact he picked this one up for me, well, he ordered it and I paid him back for it. Talk about a saving grace. It's just a little thing, but it runs almost all the time because, well, frankly, the temperature here gets stupid. Curiosity thing here. Yeah, we're sitting at 36 right now, which is divided by, what is it? Divide by 5, multiply by 9. There we go. 63, 93. Just shy of 100 degrees right now. Hey, world, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And yes, I have this spot right here for you, world. Here we go. And guys, this is the link to World Stream. And there we are. So do drop in, give him a listen. If you like what he has to say, absolutely give him a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share the daylights out of it. Okay, very important from that standpoint. Because I will tell you, the support that I see going back and forth throughout this room is just a microcosm of what working together we can pull off in the rest of the world. Okay, I know we've got people all over the world already in here. I mean, we're sitting at 537. We are slowly climbing. Uh-oh. That sounds bad there, world. Not a problem there, Shannon, their world. I'm happy to say since March 6th of 2021, when I started doing any work with the video, I've only had to block one person out of my chat room altogether. And they were warned by not only myself, but many of the non-moderator of the general public and the moderators of what they were doing. And they continued doing it anyway. To my way of looking at it, you walk into somebody's room, you don't have to agree with their rules, but you are honor bound to follow them. And this is just the reality behind it. Now what I'm looking at is going, okay, how am I going to make this whole thing change so that we can affect the entire world? Ouch. World goes, YT has had me on their S list for 4 years now. Oh, that's an annoyance. That is very much an annoyance. Oh, I just about missed out there, football. Football is just football cats going, can off-worlders get COVID? Technically the answer is yes. But you got to remember, that's like a human getting mad cow disease. Technically it's possible, but it's not something you worry about. But they do have their own illnesses and what have you. Okay. And some of them far more volatile, far more devastating than what humans suffer. Now, I will tell you one thing that does affect any of the races thus far that I've run across is necrotic poison, such as that which comes out of a rattlesnake. Okay. Necrotic illnesses, which is when your body literally dissolves while you're in it. Technically, Bigfoot could, but the reality of that is because of the fact Bigfoot sticks to non-processed food, does not congregate in really bad conditions, and is on the whole not negatively generating a staggering amount of counter energy. The odds of them getting it are not good. Okay. I mean, they, in all fairness, Bigfoot has a better chance of getting COVID than the off-worlders do. Because at least Bigfoot, in my opinion and from my experience, is an earlier version of humans. Not that's been brought forward, it just never evolved. Okay, because you're looking at Gigantopithecus. Yes, from what I gather, they absolutely will. But they'll only dumpster dive on the outskirts. They won't come into the heart of the city. Very much their caffeine. Caffeine Eclipse is going, it's just a separate branch that is like different. The neat part about it, when we take a look at humans, humans are an interesting species. They were accelerated for war. And oddly enough, I talk about this stuff and it really does become a question of, and people have asked me this, is it your imagination or are you drawing on memory? Well, you get to take your pick. Okay. But I take a look at this series. Okay. The topic that we're talking about right now, not in book 10 here, which is the birth of the wolf pack. Okay. But in the next one, in the one coming out next year, I'm hoping, okay, which is where it all began, we start looking at the whole thing of evolution, how mankind came about, the whole 9 yards. Okay, because it's an entire saga. This is a 12-volume saga that runs from the beginning of time to the rise and fall of man, right back to the resurgence of man and the return to paradise. Okay. And again, I am working on the marketing side of it, trying to figure out how to actually make all that happen. Now, today is the 14th, so tomorrow will be spent mostly getting positive perspective sorted around. Yeah, football goes like a win. And now I'm not entirely certain. I take it, curiosity there, football. Windstar Casino, I take it that is just simply another casino in your local area. I appreciate the extra information. I'm just going to read that the way it said. Do I understand it? Certainly, but I'm not the researcher. What World Bigfoot has just pointed out is Bigfoot are our relatives, relic humanoids. Currently, they are mostly hybrids, according to the Ketchum Bigfoot DNA genome study. Nuclear DNA, unknown, no matchup listed. Mitochondrial DNA, human. Okay, so, from that standpoint, now one thing I will point out. Okay, thank you so much for that there, football. Regarding that casino that we were talking, the Windstar Casino, it's Bigfoot dumpster diving in the casino in Oklahoma. The one thing I will tell you, when we take a look at the studies they're doing, those studies that you're just talking about there, world, okay, when you look back at Gigantopithecus, which is the branch that is still floating around, I was talking to him years before my brother passed. He had calculated that in the local area, you would have to have a rough population of at least 200 adult pairs in order to avoid inbreeding. Okay, so we're not talking about a tiny species. We're just talking about a species that's very good at hiding from people. Yeah. World's just going, I know someone who saw them dumpster diving in New Zealand. Yeah, like Bigfoot they're not a local occurrence. They are a global species. They just happen to live in places where humans don't. Yeah. Football, I'll have to take your word for that. I mean, the strawberries, I have no doubt, are good. I personally don't like chocolate. But I know it's something that a lot of people love, and therefore I do encourage people to utilize it as they can. But again, everything in moderation. Now, I hate to put it this way, but everybody has a prejudice, and there are times when that's a good thing. But again, it's got to be in moderation. Whatever you do, you got to remember, if what you're doing is going to hurt somebody, then it's not a good thing to be doing right off the bat. No. Actually, that, in all fairness, caffeine's just saying we needed weaker and smarter versions of Bigfoot. So we made humans to fight in war for gold. Well, first and foremost, the gold had nothing to do with mankind being built. Secondly, it wasn't Gigantopithecus that did it. I mean, don't get me wrong, they evolved that way. Okay, but mankind was built to fight a different war. It's just mankind got caught up in the shiny thing of gold, and then marketing produced a nightmare. Mind you take a look at it. Diamonds, from what I gather, are an extremely common stone, but marketing made them absolutely invaluable. I've just never been one to take a look at what everybody says, oh, that's the best way to go, and gone, oh, absolutely, let's just go that direction. I like the way my brother did it. He always looked at it and went, I'm not going that way, I'm going over there. And he was just blatant about it. Yes, in case you hadn't noticed, I used to get along with most of them of my brothers. Now the two I got along with best, didn't see them very often, but they're both dead, so I see them a lot more frequently now. Football, some of them like shiny things. Caffeine, I'm not going to argue that point at all. Okay, the whole reality behind it is if mankind were to come from one person and one person only, okay, then, or from one entity only, all you would end up with in very short order is an extreme case of interbreeding. Net result, extinction. And much like I've told other people football, that's not a bad outlook. It's like I've told people when you look at the creation side, and God created Adam and Eve. Well, I'm not arguing whether he did. They just weren't all that he created. They were just the ones that we're focused on. Just like, when we take a look at this, and I go back to this because this is what I work with. Okay. This chap here, okay, Jeremiah Wollstron, is not the only character in the book. He's just the one that I center a lot of things around. And there's any number of reasons you can come to that conclusion for. But when you look at prejudice, again, if you've got one type of book that you like and not another, then your prejudice either in favor of the book or against it, depending. World's going about 2 years ago, Gigantopithecus DNA was sequenced. Turned out to be a giant version of orangutans. Giganto DNA does not match with the Sasquatch genome, so Giganto has been proven to be not related. And then goes, that's Dr. Jeff Meldrum's half-baked theory, by the way. I do like the way you put that. Now, the funny thing there, what do we got? Presumably, you're asking that of me there, football. Okay, and if that's the case, I'm Taurian. My eldest is a Leo, and my youngest is an Aries. Okay, and theoretically, that should mean we have an absolute war zone in here. Okay, because something I found out. What I discovered was there are what I call 3 god signs. Okay, you've got Aries that think they're God. They've got no functional foundation for it, but the majority of them think they're God. Net result, you'll find them very self-opinionated. Then you've got Scorpio, who know they're God. And if you give them 1 or 2 areas of expertise, you can bet your bottom dollar they know what they're talking about, though it's very likely they won't bother telling you. Okay, then you've got Leo. And Leo just can't simply understand why everybody doesn't accept the fact that they're God. Okay. So, when you look at that, and then of course you've got Taurus. So I've got one that thinks he's God, one that can't figure out why everybody doesn't accept the fact he's God, and then there's me, Taurian. Okay. And that's the one sign in the zodiac that doesn't care who calls himself God, as long as you get out of the way. Now, Let us just take a look at something here. Of course, we're trying, where are we? Leo. Let's go here. Okay, it will vary year to year, but Leo itself starts somewhere between, depending, the 21st and the 24th of July and runs until about the same point in August, where it turns around and becomes Virgo. You know, my brother was a Scorpio. Well, still is a Scorpio, still breathing. Now, something you do have to remember, guys. I mean, talk about going sideways, but it does boil down to the same idea. You know, when you take a look at it, see, Gemini I love, because you can take one Gemini and put them in the room, they'll argue with themselves for hours. Okay, put two Geminis in the same room, you got a cacophony of confusion. But I'm talking in general. You also got to remember, when a Gemini gets their brain working in unison, they think faster and more creatively than many of the other signs. But something I do have to point out, many people are told, if you're an opposite sun sign, like as in, for instance, Nathan, you're Scorpio, I'm Taurus. According to traditional Western philosophy, the fact that we have opposite sun signs should mean that we don't that Taurus and Scorpio cannot get along at all. Same as your Aries and your Capricorn cannot. No, sorry, not Aries and Capricorn. Same as your Cancer and your Capricorn apparently cannot get along. Well, I'm telling you, they do. It's pretty obvious from that standpoint. Yeah. World goes, according to Western and Eastern zodiacs, I'm a centaur. Centaur ox. See, I've got an interesting problem. I was born Taurian, but when I walked out of the morgue, I came out of Leo. Yeah, it really does. Because there's a lot of places where it falls short. And, I could go into that for a very long conversation. What do we got here? See, in my case, if I look at Western to Eastern philosophy, I'm a Taurus rabbit. Okay, I don't know much about Eastern astrology. I don't know what my Leo counterpart is. I've never looked it up. But the thing I will tell you is that astrology is great for understanding the tools you were born with. When I learned astrology, I was taught that astrology itself gives you a report card from your last life. It shows you what abilities you've got, what tools, what strengths, what weaknesses you were born with. It doesn't tell you what you have to do with it. Yeah, world. That my understanding is that originally there were 8. Okay. And again, this is where things get a little screwy. I just work with the 12 and I'm just not interested in changing it. Yeah, caffeine goes, we'll have a problem with you earthlings if you don't have a complete understanding. Well, the fact of the matter is, even the major races from off world do not have a complete understanding of what's going on. Okay, some are brilliant, absolutely, but they are by no means perfect. Even they have their own prejudice. You know, and this is why I look at it and go, find the commonalities. You know, doesn't matter what race of what sign of the zodiac you are. Most of you still you still walk 1 foot before the other. Very few people actually spend their life hopping both feet at the same time. Although that would look entertaining. But, you know, the reality is you will, if you continue to keep your mind open, you will continue to learn. You will continue to learn. The trick is to realize and to focus on the similarities. Yeah, see, I've tried that. I tried that one day there, world. Really bad idea, by the way. You know, because I tried jumping into my pants and I hurt myself pretty badly. I don't do that. Okay, I figure one leg at a time works quite nicely. But the reality of it is that, you know, the majority of humans have 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes, okay, and you still only eat with 1 mouth, which, by the way, is probably a good thing considering what my metabolism used to be. Well, yes, it does. I still find it easier with one leg first. But yeah, it's a lot easier than trying to jump up and down. Although I watched somebody set it up in a gymnasium. The guy, he was in short pants. Well, he was in a bathing suit to do it, which I can understand why. But he had his pants hung up on this suspension rack. He comes running at it, does a double flip, and lands both feet into the legs at the same time. Did the pants up and walked off. Now, I'm certain that most people can't do this. I'm absolutely certain I'm not going to try it. That's excellent, Tammy. And this is something that I absolutely commend you on. If you're taking meds to help you deal with life, absolutely do. Okay. I see too many people that get on meds, they start to feel better, and then they go, oh, I feel great. I don't need my meds anymore. Very few will go, I'm on meds and I feel better because of it, so I'm staying on them. Now, in my opinion, meds are not the be all and end all, but they're absolutely necessary and very beneficial in a lot of ways. Okay, like myself, I'm supposed to be on all kinds of meds. Of course, in my case, they want me on meds for my heart, my blood pressure, you know, their diabetes, which they can't figure out whether I've got or don't. And I'm just not interested in it. So I'm not taking it, but I will tell you, if you trust your medical professional and they tell you this is a medication you require, absolutely listen to what they're telling. I still encourage you to go and double check with a pharmacist that isn't tied to your treatment, if you will, to get the extra insight. But if you're taking meds under the guidance of a doctor, absolutely keep taking them, because sharing the meds off right off the bat on your own may not have as good an outcome as what you're hoping. You know, sad to say, you know, Nathan, much as I agree with you on the whole, you know, Nathan's going, Trek fans embrace the common interest. Much as I agree with you on the whole, I've run into some pretty close-minded, you know, and very prejudiced Trek fans, to the point where they literally would look at somebody and go, "Oh, you don't like Star Trek? You're not a science fiction fan." You know, where are we here? See, one thing that you may find really beneficial there. Where are we? There we are. Yeah, I mean, one thing I will tell you that you might find, that you may find beneficial. Okay, and I know it helped me. Find the fastest dance-paced music you can. Crank it as high as socially acceptable, and let it run in the background. This will help bring the depression out of the equation, because that increased vibratory rate will help you feel better. Plus, get a half-hour direct sunlight a day. It will activate the necessary vitamin D in your system, which operates basically as a photosynthetic reaction. Now, what do I got here? Yeah, unfortunately, Nathan, that's a good word for it. Yeah, World goes, I'm a fan of the original Star Trek. I personally really related to Spock. Don't know why, but I really related to him in a lot of ways. Now, I haven't actually watched the Kurtzman Trek. Okay, so I don't have any way of telling you much there. Now, where are we sitting here? Oh, that close, are we? Okay, we are getting down to the tail end here. Let me get this out of the way so I can actually see what I'm doing. That's a cute thought. Put that back where it belongs. Put this book back where it belongs. There we are. Now, okay, guys, down to the last few minutes here. So, if you do like the stream, do give us a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel. And for pity's sakes, if you like it, absolutely subscribe and share the daylights out of it. Now, tomorrow being the 15th, we're going to cover, as requested, we're going to look at resurrection. Okay, resurrection, reincarnation, that sort of thing. Just exactly which is what. And does it have, what kind of bearing does it have? Okay. Then we are going to look on Wednesday. On Wednesday, we're going to be looking at the medical side of the world and really take a look at the feel behind it, not the science, because I am no scientist nor am I a researcher. And then, of course, Thursday, scrap the idea of a show. But then we'll take a look at toxicity and the world around us and see where we can go from there. Now, again, if you've got an idea for a topic or if you've got a question, okay. If you've got a question or a topic you'd like to look at, absolutely drop me a line at any one of the contact points below. Easier said, easier put this way. Where are we? Scroll that down to there. This email address is the email address to get a hold of me the easiest. Okay. And again, this is the same email address I use that I keep a real close eye on. If you've got a topic you'd like to look at, there's the email address. If you're looking for one of the books I work with that I'm writing, or the fact that that maybe you've got a poem or a short story you'd like to look into, okay, then absolutely, drop me a line. That's the same email that I use for PayPal as well. Now, before I go anywhere further here, yeah, Caffeine, the records you're talking about and the Akashic records they cover your soul, not your physical body. Okay, they cover what your soul is aiming for. And it will cover various physical bodies you've had. Absolutely. Football, we're going to be looking at mental, physical, chemical, environmental, sociological. We're going to look at the whole time, the whole concept of toxicity and how you can protect yourself from it and or heal from it. That's just the reality behind it. Now, the reality that we're also looking at here, we're hitting the 2-hour mark. Okay, so I want to take this time to say thank you so very much for dropping by and sharing your time with me. Really appreciate it. And absolutely, I will be back. Tomorrow's Tuesday, so I will be back tomorrow at about 4:30 unless something really gets in the way. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.